morning. Welcome to 49ers in 5, your daily update on everything happening with the team that you need to know. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. Today is Thursday, September 28th, 2023. Here's what's happening with your San Francisco 49ers. As always, we begin with the injury report and a couple of names on there that do maybe give you a little pause before the Arizona game. Dre Greenlaw, Juwan Jennings, and Deebo Samuel did not participate in practice on Wednesday. Neither did Trent Williams, but that was just a rest day. Brandon Ayuk and Ambry Thomas were limited. Deebo missed with ribs and a knee injury, according to Kyle Shanahan, which we did not know about, which the Niners really didn't know about until very recently. So we'll have to see what happens with Deebo going forward. Not really loving that from a Niners perspective, but at least Brandon Ayuk looks like he's on track to play. Now, to the audio portion of the show. The closer we get to the Cardinals game, the more and more nervous I get because I don't think this is going to be a walk in the park. Kyle Shanahan, I know they just beat Dallas last week, but how do you avoid a trap game with your players?
All you have to do is watch the two games before that also. They had every chance to win versus Washington in week one. I believe that they should have. And I think that, I forget the exact score, but I want to say it was like 27-7 in the third quarter versus the Giants, and they had every chance to win that. And it got away from them at the end. And Dallas was very similar, but they didn't turn it over there at the end, and they kept finishing and keeping out of the red zone and ended up not being close. So they're a team that really should be 3-0 right now.
I don't know if I would go that far, Kyle, but I will say this. The more you dig into the Cardinals, and especially that win over Dallas last week, the more you realize they didn't just beat the Cowboys because Dallas was asleep. They beat the Cowboys because they beat the Cowboys. They out-schemed the Cowboys. They punched holes in that defensive front. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a fluke. They soundly handled one of the best defenses in the league, so it's going to be a challenge for the 49ers this week. If they are going to pull it off, one thing they have to do, cut down on the penalties. So far through 3 games, 18 flags on the 49ers, including multiple personal foul penalties against Dre Greenlaw, who always seems to walk that line. Kyle Shanahan, are you worried that Greenlaw is going to develop a reputation that could cause him to get more flags in the future, even if he doesn't do anything wrong?
Anytime you play like Dre, he doesn't hesitate in anything he does. So he jumps off the screen to people, but you still got to call it right. It's harder when people are like that, but he plays one way, and if he's ever playing a way that's illegal or anything that's not allowed, that we will change that fast. But Dre is a very talented athlete and very physical and a violent player who can play that fast and keep himself out of trouble for the most part. And I think he's done a very good job of that throughout his career.
I'm sure everyone's going to say that officials don't take reputation into account when they're calling these penalties. Baloney, okay? Reputation matters in everything. It matters in life. And if Greenlaw hasn't earned one yet, he's definitely on track to. So he's got to get that under control. Finally, one more from Kyle Shanahan. He addressed his contract extension for the first time. And he let one little nugget out about the timing that I thought was a little interesting.
We did it before the Pittsburgh game, so I'd already celebrated with my family and stuff like that, which is huge. I feel very grateful. Just being a coach anywhere for a long time, I know what that means, and extremely grateful for that, to have that opportunity, and mainly for my family to be somewhere for so long, which is cool. But and doing it before the season even started, I think meant a lot to me. Just shows you the people that we're with, that we believe in each other, despite what could happen. Whether we were 0-3 or 3-0, we'd still be in the same situation. And really like where we live, and really like the people we work with. And they're committed to giving us a chance to go for it every single year. And that's all I could ever ask for.
So as we've seen other places, the timing of the coach extension does not necessarily reflect when that contract was agreed to. Clearly with San Francisco, it was agreed to before the season ever began. We always give you one thing to read, one thing to watch, and one thing you might have missed. One thing to read on this Thursday. If you want to know how our old friend Trey Lance is doing with his new team, the Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy just went on the record about that very subject. If you'd like to read the quotes, you can click the link in the description of this episode. One thing to watch, Deebo Samuel did his weekly spot with Kay Adams on the Up and Adams show this week, and he was asked about how the Niners culture has remained so good despite having a roster full of stars who all want the football. I thought Deebo's answer was pretty sweet. If you want to read that, or I should say watch that, again, link description of the episode. Are you sensing a pattern yet? Finally, one thing you may have missed, the Niners shook up the practice squad a little bit. They added safety Trey Norwood, defensive back Kendall Sheffield, and tight end Jake Tongues, and they released running back Jeremy McNichols. That's a wrap on today's 49ers in 5. Please rate, review, and follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network. If you leave a review, I promise you we will read it on the show. Enjoy your Thursday, everybody. Stay tuned for the original Gold Standard Podcast with myself and Levin Black. That is not going to be live because Levin's work schedule changed, so we taped it yesterday, but I will put it on the YouTube channel right when we normally do our show. So right around 9 a.m. Pacific time, it should be there for you. Hope you enjoyed that. And of course, remember, after the game, Levin will be live with me in the Instant Reaction Podcast. So it's the perfect time. Click that little bell in the description or in the YouTube channel so you know when we go live after the game and otherwise. And as always, rate, review, and follow, like I said, everywhere you get your audio podcasts. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. We'll talk later today.